Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss American Trading Corporation. Thanks for tuning into our podcast, The Secret War on Cash. For those of you who've been with us before, you know we've been taking a deep look into some of the bigger issues in the financial markets and the economy, domestically and globally. I do so with my co-host, who's going to pop in here in a second, Chris Agelastos. Chris, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well, thank you.
Well, that's good to hear. We are cruising through January, about halfway through the month already. Seems like Christmas was here just yesterday,
Yeah.
and lots already taking place in the markets, in the economy. Getting right into it here, the first article we want to take a look at, we're going to get right into the banks. We've already been covering them a little bit this year. The first article, 850 billion in credit losses will hit banks this year as uncertainty prevails. That this is a Standard & Poor global forecast. Seems like a lot of losses. The banking industry has certainly had more than their fair share of different issues that they've had to deal with. There's been certainly a lot of what we're trying to say, like problems certainly with bank closures that we've had. We've had theft, we've had loss. I mean, the list goes on and on. So as we look at this, the losses that they're looking to experience, what's interesting is that we're about to embrace a presidential or administrative change with President-elect Trump being sworn in next week. And looking at this, as good news as that is for a lot of reasons, I think pretty well the election results would indicate people are pretty excited or looking forward to with anticipation this change with Trump going into office. And as good as it is, it doesn't mean that everything in the economy and everything in the financial markets and financial system is going to be great, because with those changes, it could create some disruption. So tell us, like with these losses, these credit losses that they're talking about, what do you anticipate, or what do you think the severity of this is going to be in terms of the banking industry as a whole? Is this going to be a problem?
Yeah, well, I'd like to be optimistic and positive. I try to whenever I can, but really what they're saying here is that this could, it could actually be a lot worse than this 850 billion, which, I had to double check the zeros, but I mean, that's right under $1 trillion. And they're saying this is from, delinquent and bad debt. And this is with us having a nice soft landing that they're hoping we have in the economy. So, they're saying, there's a lot of factors here that could make this worse. Any slowing economic activity, resurgence of inflation, which a lot of people are concerned about, and political. They say political polarization and market volatility, but really, which is a lot of the geopolitical concerns around the world. So it's great, I think, that Trump is coming in because he is more of a businessman. At the same time, he's talking a lot about tariffs and using those as leverage in international negotiations. And there's a lot of concern that tariffs could reignite inflation and force the Federal Reserve to quit cutting rates, which for people that are already struggling to pay their bills, if interest rates stay high or even worse, have to increase, then we could see a lot of problems. So I would say we're nowhere near being in a safe zone here, and we just need to watch it closely and hope and pray that their projections here are the worst of it, and that it doesn't get worse than this.
Sure. Well, and the concern also being, at least from my vantage point, is that nothing happens independently anymore in the markets or the economy. It's like dominoes. And the concern being, if you have a disruption, even I believe they say 8 out of 10 banks out there are going to stay strong and solvent and what have you. It's just the couple that this will affect. But with that being said, at the end of the day, this is definitely a something that if there is that disruption, you don't know what that ripple effect is going to be. So
Right.
now the other article here in banks, this is, I mean, in a way, it's a positive article. $2 million drained from customers' bank accounts in just 8 days, says a financial giant, warning scammers trigger fraudulent transfers like clockwork. So scammers are out there hacking into people's bank accounts. Now, on a positive note, the banks, in this case, and this is overseas, this is in Europe, were very proactive in getting with their customers and telling them, hey, this is what's going on. Be careful, beware. That is a very good thing. But what I look at with that as well is like, if the banks are aware of it, how are they not able to do more to help, prevent people from hacking into other people's accounts? Now, some of it was falling for scams. That's for sure. But it just seems like that even on a positive note, there's just so much instability. There is so much uncertainty that is surrounding our banking system. You just wonder, at what point is that confidence factor going to be gone or lost, and we're going to see some huge disruption in our banking system? I mean, I don't know if you share the same thoughts as I do on this, Chris, but to me, this just is another reason why, gosh, I don't know if I feel good about having my money sitting in a bank.
Yeah, it's scary. I like to think of myself as, I mean, I'm aware of a lot of these different scams and things that can happen. At the same time, I'm very much susceptible to this risk. Even being aware of it, it's easy to fall for some of these things. I mean, I've received some emails and texts before that I had to really dig into to verify them, only to figure out that they were indeed, scammers trying to get my info and in turn get into my accounts and take some of my money. So, and again, I'm pretty aware of it. I think about people like my parents who are not as technologically savvy, let's say. And I mean, they're always asking me about things, which thankfully they have me to come to. And I basically tell them, look, don't talk to anyone, don't do anything without
Right.
running it by me first. But what about all the people that don't have someone to go
That
to?
don't, that don't
Um,
have a Chris.
that's
What about
right. I
people who
mean,
don't have a Chris?
I guess call and ask for me, and I'll see if I can help you. But yeah, it's a scary world out there. And like I said, if even I'm worried about falling for it, and a lot of these things, some of the things they were talking about in the article, we're even just purchasing some clothes online from a retailer that doesn't really exist, or buying fake concert or football tickets. They specifically talk about the Taylor Swift concerts that were going on, and so that, and then in addition, people getting phone calls from imposters pretending to be someone at their bank. And so some of the tips they give in here is, if you're receiving a call or a text or an email from somebody, claiming to be from your bank, contact your bank at a number, a published number that is legitimate for the bank, and ask them about it. And if it's legitimate, they can in turn get you to that person or that department. But
Right.
don't just click on a link in an email, or call a phone number that's listed in somebody's signature line, or that they text you, because even though you think you could be contacting the bank, you're not. So there's
Right.
this day and age with obviously how much we rely on electronic transactions and our smartphones, and that helps us do our banking. We're just that much more at risk of falling for some of these schemes.
Right. Well, what I found interesting too is that, and I'm grateful for this. I'm sure you've had this happen to you as well, but there's been several times where I've used my bank or a credit card or what have you to purchase something, and
Mhm.
it gets denied because it's a suspicious transaction. And
Yeah.
I think I do like that. I mean, there's some frustration and annoyance with it, but in looking at it positively, that's, something that's maybe a good thing to have in place.
Yeah.
But as you hear this, it's like, well, that happens to me when I'm trying to make legitimate purchases. How come they're not able to stop these illegitimate purchases from happening? So, it's just again, I think it just speaks to the uncertainty and the fragility of our banking system as a whole, and which is
Yeah.
why diversification is key. And for those of you tuning in, getting into precious metals, gold and silver, something that is literally an asset you can put your hands on. That's one of the reasons that it's one of the main reasons the majority of our clients get into our product, is that they just want to know that if everything hits the fan, if you will, that they have the ability to go put their hands on some money. So, well, Chris, thank you for that. We'll be talking about banks later as well, and throughout the course of this year, I know. For those of you tuning in, thanks for doing so. If you haven't contacted us, you'll see our contact information in the description here in the podcast. Please do so. And if you're not subscribed to this podcast, please do that as well, as we'd love to talk to you more in the future. Have a great rest of your day.